Today's guest is Lachie Colledge, a medical student who took a gap year, traded textbooks for temples, and spent a year traveling the world not to escape, but to learn differently.
We can go through life, we can walk outside, and I can say, wow, the trees look beautiful today. The sky is blue, the sun is shining. I'm so grateful to be here. But the person next to me might not even realize that. And it's being intentional about that.
He studied meditation, explored the wisdom encoded in the language, and found deep gratitude not in comfort, but in presence.
If you have the presence to say, even just that moment of, wow, I'm so grateful for this, but let me get back to doing it. That moment is so powerful.
It feels like you're searching for the essence of life, and in the process of it, you're discovering a universal language of some sort.
Language isn't written by one person. Someone doesn't sit down, they get a two-way dictionary out and just like write random words across. It's a thousands of years process, whole society's generations.
This conversation is about what the world teaches you when you're quiet enough to listen, and how anyone can choose to feel the pulse of life, even while pursuing something as arduous as a medical degree. So you talk about in the article practicing gratitude superficially. What does that mean? Lachie, welcome to the Grateful Podcast.
Thanks, man. That's a pretty cool intro. I'm happy to be here.
Of course, man. When you sent me that article, I remember exactly where I was. I was in a laundromat doing laundry for the first time on a trip I was on, and I was just immediately so intrigued. I saw so many similarities, and I just finished reading The Alchemist for a fourth time. Have you read that book?
Dude, that's so funny because we didn't talk about that. That is my favorite book by far. I've read it 3 times in English. I'm on my second read through in French. I absolutely love it. Yes.
It's amazing, man. And when I read your article, you seem like you're curious like the boy in The Alchemist. It feels like you're searching for the essence of life, and in the process of it, you're discovering a universal language of some sort.
Never thought of it like that, but maybe the book's gone to me. Yeah, no, I do love that book. It teaches you a lot. Yeah.
It sure does. Yeah. So what are you so curious about? What is at the heart of your actions, your travel, your learning in med school, your articles? What's the essence of all of that?
I have gone on a bit of a journey the past couple of years. I think I got to a point in medical school, and I've been so lucky that I have been given so many opportunities. From when I left high school, I moved cities, I was on college, had a blast, went to medical school, had a blast. But it got to a point and I thought to myself, I think there's more out there. There's more for me to learn, there's more for me to experience. And for me, that was a few things. It was meditation, it was Buddhism, it was going to a monastery and sitting there in silence and learning how to be grateful. And it was learning what different cultures can teach me. And I went overseas and I loved it. And I sort of went on this simultaneous journey, I suppose, where I've been learning French to hopefully do international aid work when I become a doctor. And as I've been learning the French language, I was simultaneously learning about myself, about the world. And I realized that all of these lessons are already in the French language. Like it's literally encoded into the words they speak. And that really blew my mind. I'm like, how is this here? It really hit me when I realized language isn't written by one person. Someone doesn't sit down, they get a two-way dictionary out and just like write random words across. It's a thousands of years process, whole society's generations. And I thought to myself, if these bits of wisdom are within the French language that I'm learning about on the outside world, but I'm also finding it within the textbook, what does that mean? It means that society had understood how to live a grateful life, how to live a happy, passionate existence. And to me, that's really special. And I started thinking, okay, I want to write about this. I want to get a blog started. And it's taken me about a year from concept to starting to being here today. But it's something that's really inspired me to learn more about the world.
Yeah, it's so cool. When I was learning the French language myself, I found a lot of those like lessons when I would just have it. I would have these moments where, whoa, wait, that's what that word means. That doesn't directly translate, but if you look at it,
Mm.
uh, I, I get it more now. I understand. Um, and I always found that fascinating. And the word you use in your article, reconnaissance, it was like, yeah, that makes sense. And when you think about it in your English, in the English word of like, we're going out to look for something, but also in the French meaning of knowing and
Mm.
the re at the beginning. What does all that mean about what gratitude actually is? That was fascinating. It was a thought experiment that I've done in my own head before, but never to that degree, never that successfully or that deeply. It just really provoked some thoughts that I'd never had before. I was fascinated by that.
Oh, I'm so glad, dude. I'm so glad. Yeah, and for me as well, I think it's funny because the first time that I read it, it didn't register in my head. And then actually when I started my blog, I went back to that word and I thought, wait, hold on. There's something really deep here. I guess that kind of goes to show something that you and I also know. We can go through we can go through life, we can walk outside and I can say, wow, the trees look beautiful today. The sky is blue, the sun is shining. I'm so grateful to be here. But the person next to me might not even realize that. And it's being intentional about that. And the same thing with language. There are many French speakers around the world. There are many people that do philosophy, but it's the ability to make that connection. That's something that I have found as a result of my simultaneous journey of meditation and travel and personal growth. Yeah, it kind of blew my mind as well. That's why I was so keen to write about it.
Yeah. So you talk about in the article practicing gratitude superficially. What does that mean?
Yeah, such a good point because that's what I realized I'd been doing for most of my life. I think there are different levels to being happy. There's different levels to being grateful for things. So let me give you an example. If I go to a restaurant tonight, order a pizza, super keen, love pizza, and I've been thinking all day about it. I'm like, oh, I just want to go to that restaurant, which is exciting. Everyone can be excited. And we sit down, we start eating it, and we're like, oh, this is delicious. That's the first level of being happy. The second level is like, man, I'm so grateful I get to eat pizza. I absolutely love it. And that's a different type. Then you go deeper and it says, I'm so grateful that the person just spent 30 minutes slaving away cooking that pizza for me. And the people that have transported these ingredients from all over the country and everyone who has shaped what I'm eating right now. And then the deeper level is like, I have the money to be here. I have a working body. So I think there are levels to things in every situation, and it's the ability to uncover that. And that's kind of what reconnaissance means, right? It means a deep search. So I think something that I found in my life, doing a deep search and discovering what's really underneath things. That's kind of at least what I found.
Yeah. And that idea of knowing, it reminds me a lot of Thich Nhat Hanh's writing. And I think that eating food is one of the easiest examples to see this, where you really consciously think about what goes into the food that you're consuming. But I've tried to
Yeah.
kind of branch this off into other areas of my life. One of the problems I run into is that I am doing a conscious thought experiment. So, like, up here is going. Well, and I run into this debate with myself, and it's like, would I rather just be enjoying it, like thought off, almost flow mode, or thinking about how much I enjoy it? And that's caused some friction, I think, in my life, because I'm in the middle of a great event and I first start thinking to myself, oh, this is so amazing. How did this get here? And going through those steps you're talking about. And then I start thinking, well, Jack, you shouldn't be thinking about it. You should just be enjoying it. And that's all going on while the event is unfolding in front of me. Have you ever had that happen?
100%. Yes, so many times. Something that I think about, if you are thinking about that, you are so far ahead of the game. You know what I mean? If you have the presence to say, Even just that moment of, wow, I'm so grateful for this, but let me get back to doing it. That moment is so powerful. Even just that one tiny recognition. And that's sometimes all we need. And then you go back to it and you enjoy the rest of your night. I found that too. Like I was on a night out Saturday night, all the friends at the bar, having a great time. And I took a moment to say to myself, wow, this is really cool. I was gone all of last year, didn't see anyone. Now I'm back. Now I'm with my friends. This is pretty bloody awesome. And then I went about my night and it was great. So I think even just that moment is really
Yeah.
worth it.
You've practiced a lot of meditation, right?
Yeah, yeah, I'd say so. I'm getting there.
You said you aim for 2 hours a day. You said you rarely get there, but it's always over an hour. That's an incredible amount.
Yes, thank you so much. It is hard. It's incredible, but it's also so hard. Yeah, but I'm loving it.
Um,
How I say it, how I like to tell people, if sitting down and closing your eyes for 2 hours a day wasn't worth it, I wouldn't do it. It sounds so boring, but if it's not worth it, why would I do it? And the answer is because it is so powerful and it is worth that investment.
so what makes it worth it? What do you see in your life that makes you realize this is something worth doing for this amount of time?
I think there's a few things. So we can break it down into taking a pause, just saying for 2 hours a day, I'm going to stare at the wall. And what are the benefits of that? And then what are the benefits of doing 2 hours of meditation a day? Because the temptation, and it's a fair assumption to say that meditation is great because you get to take a break and you get to pause your mind. And that's very true. You sit there and your thoughts are just like coming out, and you sit down, you meditate, and all these thoughts are swelling in your head, and people say, "Oh, I'm not very good at meditating because I just have all these thoughts in my head and I can't focus." And how I like to think about it is when you've taken that break, that pause, your brain is like unloading all of that information that's been stored up in there all day, all week, all year, and just vomiting it out. That's how I think about it, like vomiting it out. And then once you finish, even 5 minutes, even 3 breaths, you stare and your mind's clear. It's incredible. So I find that the benefit of and that's just staring at the wall, right? That's just taking a break. And that's very beneficial. And then it's like, what about meditation is specifically good on top of taking a break? And the meditation that I do, you don't move for the entire hour. So you sit there and you don't move. And to be honest, at home, 2 hours a day, your body's pretty okay. But when you do 10 hours a day in a monastery every day for 10 days, by the ninth, 10th day, your body hurts so much. And you're sitting there, and the whole point of the meditation is understanding how your body works. Because through understanding how your body and mind work, you can understand how the world works. So I sit there and I understand how my body and mind work. And I sit there and I say, this is hurting so much. Life sucks. And it's that moment to say, oh, this is the habit pattern of my brain. The habit pattern of my brain is to react and get angry and upset whenever something goes wrong. And it's saying to yourself, I'm just going to sit here. I'm just going to vibe it out. It doesn't matter what happens in the next hour. That feeling and the ability to learn that skill means that when you get up and walk around for the rest of your day, it's like you're invincible. Nothing can touch you because you've just said to yourself, I'm going to be okay with whatever happens. I think that's the first thing. That moment where you realize the pain that other people go through in their day, when you walk the rest of your day and you see people and someone might say something angry to you, it's that moment to say, I understand that life is hard and I understand that people go through pain like I did this morning, and I'm going to be compassionate to them and not get angry or upset. And that lesson is so important.
Drawing that back to understanding is reminds me of your whole reconnaissance article, right? You start to understand and know life better, so you're able to appreciate it and live it more passionately and more present. When you understand that pain, you're able to be less reactive to pain and say, I understand what you're going through. It's that understanding, cultivating knowingness in life. Um, and that seems to tie it back to the very first question. Like, just, I mean, obviously, I've talked to you for 20 minutes, so I'm not quite sure, but that seems to be what you're chasing. This understanding of life itself as a means to full gratitude. Am I correct with that?
Absolutely, absolutely. One of the most amazing things that has ever happened to my mindset is when I realized that we can choose how we see the world. One of the reasons I'm a doctor is because, well, I'm going to become a doctor. I'm still in med school. But one of the reasons why I want to be a doctor and I'm going to become one is because when you're a doctor, in any profession where you're looking after people, what is your first principles mindset? It's of loving that person, of doing what you can and seeing the good in that person. I find ways where we can put ourselves into that mindset to be super beneficial. For example, on the flip side, I think policemen and women are wonderful and we need them, but I wouldn't personally be a policewoman or a man because I would be operating from a first principles basis of, is this person doing the wrong thing? So that's why I want to live my life with the first principles and understanding of how can I feel like everyone exists with love and with good intentions. And I really found when I was traveling, I went to Norway, hitchhiked up from the bottom to the top of the country, saw the Northern Lights. It was incredible. And sometimes we'd get a ride and they'd say, oh, have all this free food, come sleep in my cabin tonight. Anything you want is yours. And that was incredible. And then I was in Africa and I was walking around and most people couldn't give anything. They could say, they could smile, they could wave, but that was about it. And that's totally fine. And people would ask me, who was the most generous of all the people you met? And it's very easy to say, oh, the Norwegian people, oh, the Europeans were so generous, they had so much to give. But that's not really what it's about. Within their own minds existed love, existed compassion, existed wanting to do what's right. And what they could do and what they could give depends on how much they have and their ability. But within their mind exists goodwill. I like to think that exists in everyone. And when I go about my day and I think to myself, everyone wants to do right for me, everything is conspiring in my favor. And that's allowed me to achieve so much because I don't see things as obstacles. I see things as opportunities. Like coming on here, I'm so excited because it's such an opportunity and I feel everything conspiring in my favor. It links back to The Alchemist, right? Where the
Yeah.
boy says, when you want to achieve something, everything works in your favor and you feel everything working out. And that's how I feel right now. So it's pretty cool.
That is the best feeling when you look for things to be that way. It's like you said with your first principle, it's like you look at everything as an opportunity. You look at things through that lens. If something is happening to you, you don't choose to see how can this harm me. You choose to see how can this help me? How can this propel me forward? Um, and that just that mindset right there makes things help propel you forward because they will end up being how you perceive them, and that's so interesting to me. um your idea of like not really thinking about, not quantifying generosity and not quantifying gratitude, that was really big for me because I think we often do quantify. We say, well,
100%.
like I graduated high school a month ago now, and people I had a graduation party, and people gave gifts and checks, and it would be very easy to say, well, this person gave me much more money than this person did, so or this person didn't give me any money at all. This person's way more generous. This person loves me way more than that person, right? And kind of pick it out and quantify based on how much they gave. But everyone gave in some way. Everyone showed up to the party. Everyone talked to me and was there and showed me love and support. And so, if I'm correct, you don't believe if people do show that love that we can uh, kind of put one person above the other in terms of generosity.
The way that I look at it, rather than if we wanted to learn gratitude, and presumably people on this podcast, they want to learn about gratitude. I think that's awesome. If you want to learn about gratitude, the most amazing moment in our day, when we write down 3 things that we're grateful for, I'm so grateful I came onto this podcast, right? I can make that in my head. I can 10x that feeling, and that would be awesome. But what I find more important is 10xing the feelings that are so buried deep in our psyche that we barely even know they're there. Like, I'm so grateful that the cleaner, cleaned this room so I can be in this clean room talking. I'm so grateful that they stocked the coffee pods so I was able to have a coffee a couple hours ago. You know, it's about saying thank you and expressing your gratitude to the small things. And I find that once you do that, so many more things in life become a joy, become an opportunity, become something to sit and smile about.
Yeah. Um, so you learn this philosophy from a kid on your travels. And I kind of have this story, but would you mind telling it again? I want to hear it in your voice and like hear the details of it.
For sure. And yeah, I do go into this more in my blog. So if anyone's interested, they can go check that out in the show notes. I was in India in my gap year, and this boy that I met totally changed my perspective on gratitude. And not in the way of, oh, I'm so grateful for all that I have back home. That's a great lesson. Don't get me wrong. But what I learned was I had fundamentally viewed gratitude the wrong way. So I was sitting meditating by the Ganges, and I feel someone sit next to me, and I sort of like, they're sitting a bit too close. I should probably open my eyes and see what they're doing. So I open my eyes, and there's a very young boy, 6 or 7, and he's looking at me so excited. He's holding this candle in his hand, and I kind of look at him like, oh, how you going? Um, and he's kind of pointing at this candle, saying, hey, like, you bought this candle. And I realized the previous night I attended this sort of worshipping of the Ganges, and the religious offering they do is to release this candle into the river. And so I realized that I must have bought the candle from this boy the previous night. There were all these beggars running around the ceremony asking for people to pay them for a candle. And I sort of said hi, and we chatted for a little bit. He didn't know many words of English because he just sort of picked words up on the street, being a beggar. And then I paid for another candle. We released it, and I went to give him a bit more money at the end. And I looked at my wallet and I realized I meant to go to the ATM that morning. I didn't have any money left. And I only was able to give him my last dollar. I showed him, I said, oh, sorry, here's $1. And he bowed, said thank you. Off he went. And a few days later, I saw him in a different part of the city, and I was super excited. I wanted to give this boy more money because he was drawn to me. He was such an interesting guy. So we sat down, I saw him, and we started chatting, and then we sat there for about 10 minutes. And he went to leave, and I gave him $20. And in India, given sort of currency conversions, $20 is a fair amount of money. And in my head, I kind of thought, oh, yeah, I'm going to do a pretty good thing here. He must get me really happy about it. And he bowed, he said thank you, and he walked off. And my mind was blown. In that moment, I just realized I'd learned something so important. And it's what I was getting back to, that idea of raising the small things, not making the bigger things in our life bigger. I realized he had raised the smaller act of that dollar, and he said thank you in the same way. And for him, he was viewing what was my intention in that moment, in both of those moments. My intention was to help him. My intention was to give him what I could. And those $1 or $20 makes no difference for him. And that's what made me realize that idea about small versus big, and how we can raise those small events up in our life. And we can, from there, have so much more to be grateful for.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy that they were both on the same level because anyone, I mean, maybe not anyone, but almost everyone looking at this story is gonna see it the way you did then, where they expect him to have some huge reaction. What reaction did you expect? Like him to jump up and down, like
Yeah, I don't
to the air type
know. I
thing?
don't know. I guess just like a lot of sort of bowing and thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I guess that's we build pictures in our heads of what we expect people will react when we do nice things, and when those are not met, we feel crushed. And that's actually our problem, not their problem. That's kind of what I found out.
Yeah. But yeah, the interesting thing is like the proportionality thing that we expect. You said in the article you expected a reaction 20 times larger because you gave him a gift 20 times larger. Um, and it was actually maturity or understanding on his part that he didn't react in that way. Because, I mean, how do you think he's learned this lesson? Just from experience begging? Or from does he just understand that any generosity is better than none? And I was thinking about that as I read it.
I think I sort of learned a similar lesson in a different scenario, and I'll explain how that connects. I hitchhiked a lot of last year, probably too much if you ask my mum. And when I was sitting there on the road, cold, rain, under 10 degrees, because I was doing it in Iceland and New Zealand and Norway, where it was very cold, and all these cars were driving past. And I'm just, begging for a ride. Please, it's getting dark. I need a ride, please. And I realized that I sort of firstly thought back home. And I said, wow, back home, I have a car. I can do whatever I want. I'm so grateful for when I have a car back home. And then I realized, well, I'm not really an independent person when I go back home. I have, I need people to build the car. I need people to deliver the fuel to the car. I need people to build the roads that I drive on. I need people to design the traffic light system. And I realized that I was just as dependent on others in that situation as I was actually hitchhiking. I found that moment of complete helplessness crucial in actually uncovering what the world really is about. Because I think when we have this ego, and especially in the life that we get to live, and we're very lucky we get to live privileged lives where we have things at our disposal so easily, and we think it's all us. We did this. It was no one else. I was the cause of my success, and that feels great to say, but it's not really true. So many people have helped me, and you get to where we are today.
Hmm.
That's what I realized in that moment of helplessness. And I think looking back to the boy, it takes maturity to understand that. But I think as he begged over the years and saw these people and saw their reactions, developed an understanding of community, an understanding of that people want to help me and people want the best for me. That's what I think anyway.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that moment of dependence teaches you that we're always dependent, and it's the ability to step outside of your comfort zone to actually get there.
I think that's the most relatable explanation of Buddhist oneness I've ever heard, where there's no such thing as an independent person. We're all connected in that way.
Mm.
And maybe that's not what oneness means because I'm not enlightened in any way. And you're getting
That's
there.
not true at all.
You're getting there, but you're not enlightened yet either, I'm guessing. So
We're all
we
getting
kind of
there,
have
dude.
no
We're all
idea.
getting there.
But yeah, the fact that we are all dependent upon everything is so incredible. I mean, there is no such thing as a self-made person. No one does it themselves. And yeah, we do have free will. I think some people uh disagree or don't really like this conversation because of they like the idea that they are creating their own lives, that they're kind of carving their own path. And we do have autonomy in what we choose to do. At least I believe so. I think that we can make a decision that really influences our lives. But so many people, so many things have led us and helped us along our journeys, even if we are the ones making decisions along the way.
Absolutely. Do you know, because I know you know a bit of French, je suis in French is I am, right?
Yeah.
Je suis is also I follow. And it's at first it seems like a mistake. And this is one of the other articles I'm about to write. It seems like a mistake, but who you are is really just who you've followed throughout your life.
Hmm. Oh, that's incredible.
You
Yeah.
see, and there's that saying of the five people you spend the most time with is the average of the five people you spend the most time with is who you are. But that exists with everything in your life, even down to the smallest thing. And who you are is nothing but a product of who you followed. And our listeners who have become more grateful have only done that because they've followed this podcast.
Wow. I I still remember exactly where I was when I it finally clicked that sweet could mean both things,
Yeah.
and I I never understood it. I'm like, a friend I had. I was in high school in France. Went to just a French lycée, and this friend said "Tu me suis," and then he started walking, and I'm like, "What do you mean? How what?" And then
Yeah, yeah,
and then I
yeah. That's
figured,
so funny.
and then he starts walking. I'm like, I guess I follow. Oh, follow. Oh, that makes sense now. But it never put together that we are who we follow. That's huge. Um, so changing paths a little bit. Something I wanted to talk about is you seem to me to be an incredibly ambitious person. Um, you you want to write a book in the future. You're writing these articles. You love to travel, meditation, med school, all of that while practicing gratitude. And so, my whole hypothesis and the reason that I started this podcast is the duality of gratitude and ambition. Um, I believe that gratitude can help us, and like being grateful for what we have can propel us forward. How do you reconcile the two? Um, for me, it's about debunking the myth that gratitude leads to complacency. How do you feel about that?
I think it's such an important question, and it's something that really holds people back from practicing gratitude, I think, is that feeling of complacency, of that feeling of if I'm grateful, then I can't push further. And when I found your podcast, and that was one of the taglines, is I talk about the duality of gratitude. That really piqued my interest because that's something I feel really deeply as well. And it's hard because you and I both know that's not true, but it's the ability to eloquently explain that to people that you can push for more. I think the French translation actually really helps with this understanding. So reconnaissance is a deep search. And when you understand what happens in the world and why you're here, it's not just, I'm grateful to be here speaking on this podcast. It's why am I here in the first place? I'm here because I've had teachers and mentors that have taught me how to live a proper life, how to learn the things, how to learn meditation, how to be a passionate, happy person. My family who's supported me from so young, and my friends who've given me love and happiness and fun and just that ability for me to, put on a smiley persona today, right? And I think to myself, I'm only here because of those people. And I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to them. And I do say thank you. But how can we really pay back what has been given to us? And you can pay it back by doing the thing they put you here to do. I've been put here, I believe, to share this message, to live a happy life and a purpose driven life. I can be grateful that I've been able to do that, but knowing that I've been put here by those people makes me want to pay them back, makes me want to go further to show them and to say thank you. Look, I have paid homage to you. I have done the work and respected all that you've given me. So I think that kind of French translation actually helps drive that ambitious sort of statement. And for example, when I took my gap year last year, I said to myself, this is 3 generations in the making. This is not something I've just woken up and decided I want to go travel for a year. This is my grandmother who had 7 children, who worked every day of her life at home to raise those children from nothing to get them to a place where my mum went to uni. And my mum had me and raised me so well to get me to be here financially, emotionally, physically. And now I'm here and I have all of the opportunities in the world. And I can pay respect and homage to those people by going and living my best life, by doing everything that I can, and by becoming the person that I can be and living out my dreams. That's how I feel. And when I do that reconnaissance, it becomes clear to me.
So you're honoring the people that helped get you here by going and following your inner voice, your inner guide, your dream.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Interesting. I like that. So have you always felt this way, or is there a moment in your life where you started to really develop this philosophy, or it just clicked? How has this come about in you?
I think definitely I've shifted in the past year. I've become someone who looks a bit deeper into things. Um, but to be honest, I've been lucky in the sense that I have lived a life where I can clearly see that people love me, and I can see that people want the best for me. And not all of us have that privilege. Some people grow up with distrust with society and with loved ones. And although those people can become grateful, passionate, happy people, it's hard. It's a harder journey. I'm lucky that I have a relatively easy journey, dude. And that's been great. And that's been because I've been received this love and this attention. Having said that, that doesn't mean it's guaranteed. That means you still need to put in the work every day, writing down your gratefuls, taking those moments to appreciate what you have, and fostering that within yourself. And I, find meditation really awesome for that. So that's definitely helped in the past couple of years. But yeah, I think by and large, I've had an awesome journey, and I'm super grateful for that.
Yeah, I find that I've been very lucky as well. I have an amazing family. I really can't complain about anything. And that having that has led me to feel like I need to share what I've been gifted with the world. I've been lucky enough to have, I think, the best life anyone could ask for up to this point. And so, with that ease that I've been gifted, it's okay. Other people haven't been gifted that. So, I can share some of that wealth that I've been given. Um, and I think that's my purpose, right? When we're given something, um, that's for us to share with others who have a scarcity of that thing.
Something that I thought of a couple of years ago, I think about everyone in the entire world and the things they've been able to do, where they are in life. And I look at myself, and I genuinely believe that there is no one else in this world I would rather be than me. And when I think that, and I really truly believe that deep down, and I say to myself, if that's true, then there is no room for jealousy in my life. I can never say the word, I am jealous of someone else, because by saying that, I'm saying I would rather be them. And that's not true. I want to be me. So therefore, I can't be jealous. I can be happy for everyone. I can see someone succeed and be like, that's amazing. I'm so happy for you. But I don't want to be them. I want to be me. And that's really helped me with my journey. I'm sure you felt this, starting off something scary like a podcast or a blog, and seeing people at the top of the game with millions of followers, and seeing where I am just starting, and just thinking to myself, oh my gosh, I got a long way to go. But knowing there's no one I'd rather be in the world than me. And that's given me a lot of pause and a lot of peace.
I think that's something that I'm gonna have to use a lot because I feel the same way. If I were to think of everyone in the world, there's absolutely no one I'd trade places with. And
So good.
I'm also I'm simultaneously extremely competitive in things that I do. Um, and I'm always trying to analyze what people are doing in that are in positions that are places I want to be. Um, and sometimes I would say like, yeah, like I'm jealous of that or something. But I think I'll have to come back to that type of to that idea that there's no one else who I'd rather be, and I'll be able to stay present with that and enjoy where I am.
I think that's the best way to do it. And it is hard. It does take a lot of purposeful thought. But I find that's been really key for me.
Yeah, 100%. I hope you're enjoying this episode of the Grateful Podcast. I'm interrupting to let you know that it would mean the world to me if you could share this episode with someone that you think would enjoy it, or leave a review down below so I can learn what I can do better and what I'm doing well with this podcast. It's a passion project, and I really want it to turn into something that helps people everywhere. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoy the rest of the episode. So, talking about following in the footsteps of someone and kind of making these next steps on your journey, how do you make decisions? It's a question I've been asking a lot of people recently, not on podcasts, but just friends and family. Do you feel like you make decisions intellectually, logically, or do you follow your heart and what feels right? A combination? How do you do it?
I don't know. I'm still working it out. I think I'm still working out what to do. I think it depends on the domain of life you're in. I know for medicine, I'm not following my heart. I'm looking up the
Yeah.
protocol and I'm saying, what do I give this patient? That's not on vibes at all. So I guess it depends. In terms of my life, like with the blog that I've just started, it's mostly how I feel about it. Like whatever I'm personally passionate about will translate. And that's something I've had to put trust in myself about. Is like the thing that I'm talking about, it's not a clear cookie cutter discussion point. But if I'm passionate about it, it will work out. And that's how I feel what within myself feels like it resonates with myself, and go from there. Because that's what motivation is. Like when you motivate for other people, that runs out pretty quick, I find. But when I motivate for myself, when I do what's right for myself, that can last so much longer. So I guess figuring out what's important to you and figuring out how you can get there.
Yeah. Huh. In my life, I've been thinking about this because with decisions I've been making, I try to go about it logically, and then I realize that I already have a decision made in here in a lot of ways. Like for example, with college and choosing a university, I am going to Northeastern University next year, and I'm super excited about it. And I could choose between a few really good universities, and um, logically, I don't. I think Northeastern made more sense, but I'm not sure. Um, but in my heart, it was always the decision. And I've come up with this hypothesis that people make their big decisions in life in ways like this, in terms of their future. They make these decisions based on their heart and their intuition. And then they use logic as a way of justifying that decision to the outside world that expects them to have a logical explanation for it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It comes from within. And I think ultimately it's making peace with the decision that you already know is right. Oftentimes we already know the
Yeah,
answer. And I think it's honestly comes down to being grateful. We all know being grateful is good for us, but it's the case of setting the intention, actually sitting down and doing it. We often know when to make that hard decision, when to make that leap of faith, but it's having the courage to do it. I think that's
right.
can come from yourself, and that comes from that self growth, which you're clearly on if you're making this podcast and you're over a year into it by now.
Yeah. Um, so what do you think when we don't have the courage to do it and we hesitate? What's that a cause of? What are we afraid of?
I like to think about it as, and this gets back to that reconnaissance definition. a lack of understanding of what got you here. When I
Mm.
discovered and when I really realized how much people have shaped me, that motivation was so all consuming, all powerful that I just had to take action. I think it's understanding like let's not take this for granted. Because when we take things for granted, that's when we get complacent. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it next week. I'll do it next year. Even this blog that I've started 2 years ago, I was sitting down having dinner with my mates at a burger place, and I said to them, "I think I'm going to write a book." And they kind of laughed at me. Whatever, it's fine. It was kind of it was kind of a bit of a joke at the time, anyway. 1 year ago, I said to my friends on a different call, "I think I'm going to start writing." Didn't do it. Too scared. 6 months ago, I said, okay, I'm actually going to start thinking about doing this. Then 4 months ago, I started writing, but I said to myself, it has to be the perfect place. I have to go to the beach, sit down with a coffee, feeling great on a Sunday in a blue sky, and then I'll start writing. That's like my creative process. And then a month ago, I said to myself, can I swear on this podcast?
Yeah, yeah.
I said, that's bullshit. I said, just sit down and work until it gets done. And I've gone like crazy for a month and now I'm here and now I'm doing things and now it's actually up and running. So firstly, it's a time thing and I think it's okay. And even when you plant a seed in the ground, some seeds take years to sprout. Just that idea is enough, even if it takes 3 years for you to actually start. But it's watering that seed. It's understanding I'm so grateful to have this seed and it can grow if I do the right things to it. But if I plant it and then walk away, nothing's going to happen. And even if I plant it and I water it for a week and it's not a tree that can give me shade and fruit like real success is, not walking away and saying, oh, it's not giving me shade and fruit. It's saying it takes time, it takes purpose. I've been given this opportunity. Let's bloody well do it.
So for people that maybe don't know where to start with starting to understand what brought them to the place that they are, because a lot brought you here, right? Where do you recommend people start off with that practice, or how do you recommend they start?
I think the easiest example is family. The easiest example is your mum. And the easiest example is the first year of life when you are helpless, completely helpless. I was actually in a cafe in Nepal and this spiritual man sat next to me. I thought, oh, this is very cool. This guy, he's got the headband on, he's got the robe. And anyway, he started talking to me and he said, who should you be most grateful for in this world? And I kind of looked at him like, oh, I don't know how to answer this. I said, oh, my mum. He goes, correct. Because your mum took care of you and kept you alive when you were completely helpless. And that is the person who's given you the most in this life automatically. I think that's a great place to start because that is the most
Yeah,
extreme example. And from there, you can
yeah.
get into subtler, my teachers, my mentors, the person who stocked the shelves at the supermarket who's given me the food that I ate today. And you can get subtler and subtler until you get to the ultimate level and realize that we're all completely interconnected. But I think starting at those extreme examples is always helpful.
And when you realized that and you fully understood that, like, oh, it's my mom that I should be fully grateful for, um, do you recognize that? Do you tell her that? Or do you just kind of have that within you?
I did tell my mum this a few months ago. Actually, it was Mother's Day, and I sent her a big message about how I'm so grateful that she took care of me and I became the person that I am today. Yes, I did do that. But I think even mentally, that thanks is so crucial because, as I said, it's that mental recognition that actually makes you push further. And when I'd like to think mum's already proud of me, and she's told me that. But when I go on to do greater things, I can look back and say, this was a product of your help and this is a product of your support. And, to dad and my sister and other people watching, they all did things for me as well, just to be clear. Um, but yeah, it's that pushing for more shows the ultimate respect and the ultimate gratitude for what people have done for you, I feel.
So when we get to that pushing for more aspect, there's interesting stuff there because, and I found this in your article. You talked about um, like people always believe that they're doing the right thing, right? The people that maybe tried to steal from you on your travels, people that we perceive as wrong, believe that they're doing good. I think about Thanos in Avengers when
Oh, yeah.
he snapped and he killed off half of everyone in the universe. He believed that what he was doing was necessary good. And um, in politics, we have two sides, and in the US, and they both, I think it's a lot of places as well, and they both believe wholeheartedly that what they're doing is absolutely just, and they believe that the other people are absolutely incorrect. But that's impossible. You can't have that's just not how it works. Someone has to be, I guess, wrong. Sorry for interrupting this fantastic episode of the Grateful Podcast. I'm here to let you guys know about something that you probably already know. I've challenged myself to hit 100,000 downloads on this podcast before August 31st when I leave for college. I want to be the youngest person to have a podcast on the top charts, and I want to get this message out to as many people that can see it because I know that I'm doing something amazing, and I know that you guys do too. If you want to help me reach my goal, make sure to share this with as many people as you think could benefit from it. It would mean the world to me. All right, now let's get back to the episode. Have you read Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell? Okay, that book, it's basically just a study of success and successful people. And the hypothesis and what you get to in the book, based on lots of data, is that the most successful people are the hard workers and the gifted ones that get lucky. And so there's all these different combinations that don't result in the extreme success. And one of the examples he gives is Bill Gates, a very gifted kid uh, and a hard worker that got lucky enough to have access to computers before anyone else, right? And so he was able to apply his skill and his hard work in those situations. And so we our ambition, if we are ambitious because we see those opportunities, that's when we'll be able to take advantage of them. And one time in our lives, I believe, we'll be gifted an opportunity that could just completely change our lives, at least one time, right? Like if we are always working hard and toward the thing that we want most in life, while being grateful and understanding what brought us here, at least one time during these years in our lives, we'll have an opportunity that, if our eyes are open, we'll be able to take advantage of. I believe that's our path to our dreams.
Incredible. I love the NFL. Even though I'm from Australia, I watch the NFL avidly. And one of the things they always say to the players in the practice squad, which aren't in the full proper team yet, they're kind of in the reserve grade. The practice squad players, you hear them, they always say this: stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Stay
Yeah,
ready so you don't have to get ready. And that's how I think. As you said, that opportunity is going to come. And if you've stayed ready, if you've continued to work and grind and put podcasts out and reach your audience and get feedback and apply that, that opportunity is going to come and you're going to be ready. But if you have to get ready, it's too late because that's going to come and it's going to go.
yeah. Going back to your, this also connects, but going back to your chance thing and then relativity of people like a homeless man waking up in a millionaire's house. I wrote an article the other day about it was about relativity, and you've been through a lot of school, so have you taken higher math classes?
Maybe 6 or 7 years ago. Do you mean which one do you mean? Special or general?
Oh, uh, I mean, in calculus is where I learned this. I'm not sure if you ever took any calculus.
Go ahead and I'll let you know.
Okay, so, and it's not that complicated of a concept, but on a graph, right, we have relative minima and relative maxima.
Mhm.
So if you have a graph that's curved like this, you have the relative minimum, relative maximum, and then you have the absolute maximum and the absolute minimum. And in our lives, I believe our lives follow this curved system, this curved path, right? And a lot of times people get stuck at one of these relative maxima because in order to proceed and maybe go toward their absolute maximum, they would have to first hit a relative minimum. And they're scared of that because as the relativity gets higher, they have more to lose, right? And so we stay comfortable there. And maybe that's good. Maybe it's good that we're like, oh, I'm grateful enough for what I have now. But in my mind, I trust that things will work out in a great way. And so I trust that if I go for it, if I take the risk, like the alchemist, things will conspire for me. So even if I'm at a relative maximum and I have some hesitation about going for whatever because I have more to lose, I will hit that relative minimum. But I believe that because of who I am and what in the world conspiring for me, I'll get to a higher point, if that makes any sense.
It does. I don't think I've learned that in calculus, but I have learned a very similar concept in medicine. When you breathe in and out, if you breathe like you blow all your air out, there's still a bit of air in your lungs. It's called dead space. So you can take in approximately 500 mils of air. Sorry, let me rephrase that. There are 500 mils of air in your lungs. And when you blow out, there's still 150 mils left. And when you breathe in, there's still spaces in your lungs that don't have any air. And that's kind of like relative minimum maximum that you're talking
Yeah.
about as opposed to maximum. And it's kind of the same thing. You breathe in, you take all your effort in, but sometimes you have to breathe out and then breathe it back in. That idea of over time, you're going to go through shifts and cycles. And when you vomit, you take a deep breath and you vomit it all out, but there's still something in there and you keep going. I totally agree. It's that ability, I think, to have that future vision, to see clearly in your mind, this will happen. And that finding the way to get there.
So looking forward, what are those dreams for you?
Great question. My dreams are to become a doctor and become a doctor that serves the community. I want to work as a real doctor. I want to go like get a little property somewhere in the middle of nowhere, maybe like coastal town, so coastal rural town. Let me preface that, which there are plenty in Australia because Australia is a pretty big place. I want to compassionately serve the community that I'm in as a general practitioner or as a hospitalist, not too sure yet. I want to incorporate the lessons that I've learned through life and will continue to learn into my medical practice. So I think when you when you talk to patients, when you come up with treatment plans, when you say, okay, your mental health is suffering, what can we do?
Lachie, this was awesome. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Grateful Podcast featuring Lachie Colledge. I apologize for the abrupt ending to the podcast. We had some technical difficulties recording. I'm not sure if that was due to the fact that Lachie's all the way in Australia or what, but overall the conversation was absolutely amazing. And I'm sorry that you got to miss out on 20 minutes of amazing conversation that we had. I know I learned so much. I hope that you guys learned a lot. Make sure to go give him a follow on Instagram or subscribe to his email list that I linked down in the description. I hope you guys have a great day. Make sure to share this podcast with anyone that you think could benefit from it and subscribe to me on YouTube. And go download the podcast or give a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify because I'm currently trying to get to 100K downloads or 100K subscribers by the time I go to college, August 31st. Stay grateful. Have a great week. I'll see you for the next episode.